Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. I'm here today to talk about the third and final season of What If, which came to an end yesterday. They did the advent calendar style release, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's the only thing I think more annoying than just binge dropping everything at once, because it just now it becomes a daily chore to watch. And I have not been the biggest fan of this show over the course of its run. I think that it's a shame because, the concept is one that's really interesting, especially the way it was originally pitched to us. This was pitched at San Diego Comic-Con as we have we're going to take, each episode is going to take a movie and is going to tell an alternate version of events based on something that happens in the movie. Which, okay, that's cool. Which is what you've heard me and Josie riff on and on Exploring Hyperspace Lanes, what we do for a Star Wars What If for all of the movies. And it's you take something in the movie and then you see how it reverberates out in a new story. So, for example, when we did Star Wars, we did what if Han Solo didn't come back at the end of A New Hope? What if Luke died there? What happens to the galaxy in a world where the Death Star is not destroyed, most of the Rebel Alliance is destroyed, both Luke and Leia are now dead? What happens there? Or you alternate it where, what if Luke fucks up and misses, and then it's just most of the Rebel Alliance is dead, Luke and Han are still alive? But what does that do for the galaxy? It's an interesting kind of, it's just take an alternate series of events to the movie, and that's kind of how it was pitched, and there are enough episodes that kind of do that. For Its Faults, the episode What If Thor Was an Only Child is the events of Thor, but Loki's not there. And what happens after is not great, but, it is what it is. What if, the first Captain Carter episode, what if Peggy was the one who, what if Peggy was the one who got the super soldier serum? More or less is that exact concept. What if Peggy was the one in Captain America who got the super soldier serum? And what happens for the rest of that story? You get the Hydra Stomper with a proto Iron Man suit, and it's a bunch of stuff like that. And I think that my strictness to adhering to these ideas has kind of relaxed where it's like, well, you're not doing that. It's like, okay, whatever. It's just Tales from the Multiverse. Let's see what they do. And I think that this season, I think, has the most episodes that I'm really kind of gung-ho about. Because, like, I really like the idea, and it's like, it's one of the things that's like, God, that is such a cool idea for a science fiction story. With what if the Eternals didn't stop the emergence? And it's like you have Quentin Beck as, you know, Mysterio kind of just running things. Like, that's a really cool idea. Like, and then it's Riri Williams versus Quentin Beck. Riri Williams trying to save the world from Quentin Beck. It's such a cool idea. I mean, there are things in that episode that don't quite work, if you ask me. Like, I don't like the idea that Riri Williams I love the idea of her in the suit that is Vision's body and wearing that as an exosuit. Like, that's a really cool idea. But I don't like that it takes the Watcher telling her to fight for her to actually, for this to be the one universe where she wins, and then for us to never go back to that. And like, that was a great one. The one, what if, what's it called? You know, with the Winter Soldier being stopped by Red Guardian from killing Howard and Maria Stark. That's an interesting one because, not because of that, mostly, but because of down the line it gets more interesting. Like, my issue with this is that that episode takes a lot of liberties with the canon that I don't think we really ever had established. Like, the idea that, like, oh, so Obadiah, like, again, when it's one change, is everything else kind of the same? So, like, is this episode confirming that in the MCU, Obadiah Stane was the one who hired the Russians to kill Howard and Maria Stark, and that's why, you know, and it was to steal that? I thought it was just to steal the super soldier serum, which, like, also, like, why was there only one Winter Soldier? If they had, there's a bunch of questions that, like, don't really make a ton of sense if you think about it too hard with that. And I love getting the cast of Goliath to shine there. That was really cool. And there was one other episode that I was like, that's a really cool. And I think the thing is, too, it's like, even the episode that ordinarily would be toward the bottom of my list, like, we're going to do later this week, we're going to rank all of the episodes of What If. One of the episodes that would normally be toward the bottom, because it's a sequel to one of my least favorite episodes, is What If Thor Was an Only Child, is easily, like, it's one of those things where it's like What If Thor Was an Only Child, one of my least favorite episodes, regardless. They did a sequel to it, and most of the episode I don't like, but by the time you get to the end, and it kind of becomes this kind of screwball comedy of errors where it's, you know, it's like, it's a mad, 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 mad world, and everyone's chasing the egg, and you have all these groups. You have the Dark Elves, you have the cult of Dormammu, you have, you know, fucking Thanos shows up with the Black Order, you have, like, the Frost Giants, the Greek, what's it called, the Greek gods are coming. Like, everyone's coming for this fucking egg because everyone wants the power that this egg is gonna bring with Birdie. Like, it's a really cool idea. Like, it's a really funny idea to have this massive fight. And I think the way that they portray Loki in this episode is as this trust fund kid who's like, we're gonna make a ski resort on Jotunheim. Like, that whole thing is just so funny to me. And that episode, I think, works better than the predecessor, and even better than, I mean, leagues better than If Happy Saved Christmas. I think it's the best kind of Darcy-centric episode we've had of this show. And it's a show, this is where it hits its stride. The one thing that I will complain about this show with, the one thing, is I think that my least favorite part of it is everything culminating in a universal or a multiversal threat. Every season culminating in this massive threat to the multiverse, and the Watcher needing to intervene. And then this episode, like, them stopping him from intervening. And then that becoming a giant battle, where they gotta fight the Eminence and the Executioner and you know, the others, like the other of the Watchers. Like, the Watcher feels to me, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm the asshole here, but the Watcher feels to me like he should just be a framing device and a narrator, and like, kind of like he should be the Rod Stewart. No, Was that who? Rod Stewart? Am I just fucking having a, like, Ron Sterling? No. Whatever. I feel like an asshole right now. But whoever it was, I feel like such an idiot. Whoever it was that did the, what's it called? The Twilight Zone. That's who this should be. Taking you on these trips into strange new worlds, taking us on these, here's what we're going to be looking at this week. Like, or this episode. We're looking at the, in this universe this happened, this is why it's different, and then we'll go from there. Like, that's what it feels like he should be. At no point do we have, fucking whatever his name is, Ron. I feel like I've watched so much of the Twilight Zone. The fact that I'm just really blanking on his name is an embarrassment to me. But he never intervenes in the episode. Like, and if you want to do a slightly different where he does intervene from time to time, and then you do a final episode that is kind of him talking it out with the Eminence and the Executioner, and I forgot the third one's name. Like, that's a cool ending. But a massive fight, like, is not great. And I think too, it's like this show had the most wasted potential, because a good amount of these episodes end in places where it's like, let's see the next one. Let's see how this continues. How does this play out and reverberate? Because I don't think we ever got a continuation to What If T'Challa was Star-Lord. And I feel like what happened was T'Challa kind of gets shafted in these adventures because Chadwick Boseman died. And because they don't want to cast someone else as T'Challa. Which is weird, considering that, like, Chris Evans does not play Steve Rogers in this show. Robert Downey Jr. does not come back and voice Tony Stark in this show. Like, Scarlett Johansson is not voicing Black Widow in this show. And the other thing is, too, as we get to the end of this show, we're getting into the newer movies. We get some Shang-Chi. Like, we get some Eternals. The Eternals play heavily. Like, oh, that was another episode I really liked. Agatha taking the power of the Celestial was something else that I really liked. And I would have liked it more if it was in the same situation as the episode with Riri Williams and the episode with the Hood, where I don't quite, if I hadn't just seen Agatha all along, I would have liked that episode a lot better, because that ending doesn't quite jive with Agatha, based on what we know her to be now, where there's no indication that, like, her backstory has changed in any way, so it's like, why would she feel like this to, like, oh, but you just want to be, on TV, that's all you want, or on the screen, that's all you want. Like, that feels like a cheap way to kind of end that. And the other thing with that episode is, like, that dance sequence in the middle, there's something, like, oddly lifeless about it in the animation. I don't know how else to describe it, but, like, everyone seems kind of, like, dead-eyed and kind of stiff and all of that. But I think that this show is kind of the biggest missed opportunity of the entire thing. Because, like, we had the Spider-Man, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man trailer dropped yesterday. And I watched it and I was like, oh, so this is another what if story. This is what if, Peter Parker was friends, his mentor wasn't Tony Stark. It was, and that's the thing too, is that there are so many characters that just get sidelined through this entire thing. But others are just, like, everywhere. Like, I think it purely comes down to who's available to do stuff. Like, there's no Scarlet Witch at all in the last season. Like, Steve Rogers is not in the last season either. Like, which, okay, fine. Steve Rogers doesn't have to be in the last season. I'm not saying he has to. But, like, Steve Rogers isn't there. And also Sam Wilson is barely there. Sam Wilson has 1 episode. Red Guardian has 2. Like, I don't know why Red Guardian's getting the push that he is. I don't feel that that's something that we necessarily need to have. But, like, he's clearly getting more of a push than Sam Wilson. I don't understand why that is. It's like, he's getting more of a push than Yelena, the new Black Widow. Which also feels weird. Like, yes, there are a lot of characters you can choose from, but also, it's like, why is the only Eternal who shows up Kingo? And I know Icarus is going to be in Zombies. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is a complete, like, Eternalist zone. But, like, you have the Celestials showing up, and then you have the Celestials playing a factor in 2 episodes. I mean, really more than that if you count Nowhere as a Celestial. But you have the Celestials showing up and playing that much of a factor. Like, why is it that, you know, we only get Kingo in this entire thing? And the thing is, too, it's like, even like the way the Watcher frames the episode about the emergence is, it's not like, what's it called? It's not like, what's it called? It's not done in a way where you feel like it's a, what's it called? Where you feel like it's a, what's I'm looking for here? I forgot my train of thought. It's not done in a way where it's like beholden to the rules of the show, because it's like, if the Eternals could get the emergence happened before the Eternals could get together to stop it, and it's like, but that's not really the plot of the Eternals. The plot of the Eternals is about how these people came to love humanity and decided to stop. What was it? Not Alioth. Alioth is the thing from the what's it called, from the Void. You get together and stop, not Arasham, it started with a T, whatever. I keep wanting to say Tehran, but no, that's the capital of Iran. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, that's not what the plot of that movie is. It's like, it's about stopping it from taking over the world, like, stopping from destroying the world, and there's a civil war among the Eternals over that. And look, there are a lot of issues that I kind of have with this show. Like, this idea that, like, you know, some of the decisions that happen kind of reverberate out in weird ways that don't have a ton of great explanation as to why that changed. Like, I don't think that, like, the shift in, like, there's not enough laid out in that episode as to when it happens, that it's like, okay, so Quentin Beck takes control of everything. He now has the Iron Legion. And that's the thing, too, is that Quentin Beck had an episode. I don't think Spider-Man had an episode at all in this. Like, we get Howard the Duck as much, if not more. I would say Howard the Duck probably has more screen time in this than, what's his name, than Sam Wilson. Because there's that first episode with where it's the Gundam / Power Rangers / insert mech thing here, which, all right, it's cool. That's like the kind of like, what the hell, sure, why not? Just do whatever you want. It's like that is in the same level of like the Gamora and Tony Stark episode in season 2, where it's like, sure, okay, it's plot convenience to get us to whatever you want to actually do in the episode. So whatever, do whatever you want. I don't care. I think when we get to the end, now we're at the end of What If. The question is going to fundamentally be what happens here, going from here on. Like, who's going to, like, we're not going to continue this. We're not going to get another Exiled show, and I hope not. It's like, I love Kaori, but like, for her to only get brought in at the end, it's a mistake, I think. Like, I would have liked to have seen a continuation of her story in the main, you know, like, as an episode, and not just, we're going to sideline her into an episode with 3 other characters. I don't give a shit about Birdie. I never did. I think Natasha Leggero does a fine job voicing her and all of that. But we don't have enough time. Like, we don't have enough time with Birdie as a character for that to matter to me. And I think it's too. Storm is just a stunt at this point. Like, by the time you're in development on season 3, the MCU has gotten so much bigger. Why does it still feel so constrained? Why are we ignoring She-Hulk? Why are we barely acknowledging Moon Knight? Why, like, and I get people didn't like those, but people didn't like Thor: The Dark World, and that movie gets routinely mentioned in this, in what's it called, and in what was the other one? Endgame, they spent a copious amount of time fucking just hanging out in that movie. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, why was this not, like, why are we not acknowledging these things? And it feels like a conscious decision that's part of Disney's kind of wider, departure from where they kind of started out in the MCU this phase. Like, Kate Bishop, over the course of all 3 seasons, I think only has one episode that she's sharing with Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi gets one episode headlined, and then he's also in the other episode with the Mechs. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, why? Like, why did you have to do something with Daredevil? Like, that could have been cool. It's just one of the continuously the show makes poor decisions, and there's no sign that it was ever going to get better. And I think this ended off kind of where you probably should have expected it to from the beginning, not in terms of what the plot was, because I don't think we needed to have anything with the the Celestials with the Watchers and all of them, that whole race kind of intervening the way they do. I don't think that was, necessary, but it is what it is at this point. Like, it's a weird situation all around, and I'm not entirely sure why this show ended the way it did, or why it happened for most of the run the way it did. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode, we'll be doing Creature Commandos later today. Until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.